Okay, let me just quickly ask you something, right? Was there ever a time where you were banned from any Roblox game? And when I say banned, I don't mean kicked, but I mean you get banned. Like when you join the game, it shows the kick message, but instead of like, oh yeah, you got kicked for internet, it says, no, you're banned from this game, you cannot rejoin, or like you can rejoin in a week or something. I bet that almost every single person watching this, no, honestly, in fact, every single person who's watching this has never gotten a message like that. And that is weird, right? I mean, like in a lot of other games, it seems like banning is a lot more common. And here's the thing, I'm not talking about getting banned from Roblox as a platform. I'm sure that a lot of you actually have at some point gotten banned or warned on Roblox to some extent for either saying something you shouldn't have or even just saying anything and then Roblox just being stupid and deciding to punish you anyway. The reason I'm even making all of this video is because like you'd think that Roblox, like, you know, in studio would make banning an easy task. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have like some first-person shooter and you're playing the game, right? Let's say you have a first-person shooter, right? And some guy is flying around, he's like spinning around, he's sniping everyone across the map. Clearly he's hacking, right? Well, you don't want that guy to just get kicked once. You want him to get banned. Like if you detect that he is hacking, you don't want him to, you know, keep playing. You want him to actually get banned, and that's the... And yeah, and that's the end of it, right? You don't want him to join your game anymore. The problem is with Roblox is that you can't really do that. You can kick someone, right? I mean, I could do a thing where I just say like, we don't have a player right now, but let's just say local player is going to be equal to game.players, and then let's wait for my username, right? So when I join the game, it's going to, you know, assign me as a variable, and then you'll say the player and then kick. And then here you can type anything, banned, for example, right? And so if I join, it's gonna, yeah, there we go, server kick message, banned. So it's not showing me the message, but it would show it to me in a real game. But the issue here is that this is a kick message. If I join a game again, it has to like give me the kick again. So it doesn't automatically say like, oh yeah, player ban. And then Roblox doesn't automatically like just detect whenever I join the game or, you know, whatever server and like ban me. Because do you know what you have to do instead, right? Then this is really stupid. What you have to do instead is you have to use this thing. I'm not even going to show you all of this because, you know, it's going to sound complex. So, you know, in case you're like a newbie or a beginner, I don't want to like frighten you, but there's a thing in Roblox called a data store service, which is basically used to store data throughout servers, right? So let me show you another example, right? Let's say inside of the script, right? Let's say whenever the player joins the game, okay? So whenever any single player joins the game, what if we want to assign them some sort of value? Right, you know, like some leaderboards, you can see like how much cash a player has or something like that. Well, Roblox has the same thing. Basically, you just make a folder and then you parent it to the player, and then you name that folder leader stats, all lowercase like so. And then inside of that folder, you just add these things called values. I'm not actually sure if you can add all of these, but I know you can add int values, and int value is just a number. It just holds some number. So we can just make a variable for that, right? So int is equal to instance.new int value, and then we can like give it a value of like, by default it's going to be 0, but let's just say 10, and then we just parent that to the leader stats folder. And so now whenever I join the game, as you can see, it shows me, oh yeah, you have this thing called value, which is at 10. Okay, but here's the thing, what if I happen to just collect more cash while playing? What if my cash goes from 10 to 40,000? That's a huge jump, unless you're like very inflated, you know what I mean? Okay, but yeah, that's kind of the idea here, right? Let's say you get a bunch of cash. The issue is if I go back to play the game, it's still going to be at 10. It doesn't save, and that's a problem. And so what data store service basically aims to do is it lets you access like Roblox's servers. It lets you save data to those servers, and then whenever the player, you know, joins your game again, Roblox like says like, okay, we have this data, what do you want us to do with it? And then you need to script in like a function that like takes that data and then assigns it to the player, and then, you know, saves their data when they leave or when the server gets shut down. In case you're interested, I do have a course about like just data storing and everything about Roblox Studio, which is linked in the description and the pinned comment, so do go check that out. Going back to the whole idea of banning people, right? In order to ban someone, right? Because right now there's no ban function. You can't just say, oh yeah, player ban, because look, if I do this, right, and I give it some, I don't know, message or whatever, I'm Damn, okay, never mind. And this obviously becomes problematic if you have like a whole game where players are able to maybe cheat, right? I mean, every single game has cheaters, but like some games is just more prevalent than others, right? Especially if you want to make an actual game that like gets popular and, you know, gets a lot of, you know, users, and maybe relies on like a competitive edge, like maybe some first-person shooter which is obviously competitive, or even like some tycoon farming simulator game, which are still competitive, because the whole point of playing is that you want to be better than the other people. You want to have the bigger tycoon. You want to have the best pet. I don't know, whatever the kids play, right? And if you just have some exploiter that can just get a bunch of that for free instantly, that's not fun. You want to ban those people. And like I said, if all you do is just kick them, they'll end up finding some workaround. Like if you're like, oh yeah, whenever you hack, you get kicked, but you still let them rejoin, well, that's a problem, because now they'll know, they'll have the information and they'll know how to bypass your code and still exploit. You need to know that, like, okay, the moment that they start hacking in any format, we need to ban them either indefinitely or for, like I said, like a couple days. And that's where data store servers comes in, right? You have to basically make a table that holds a bunch of values, and then inside of that table, you need to have a value for every single player who's ever played your game. And then inside of that table, you know, for the player, you'll have, you know, whatever other data you might want to save, like maybe their inventory, their, you know, gun skins, their, I don't know, coins, whatever, right? And then you'll also, on top of that, have to just have like and then on top of that, you're now required to add a otherwise useless value called is banned. And then like when the player gets caught hacking, you set that value to true, you kick them, you know, save their data obviously, and then whenever they try to join your game, that's when you're like, okay, if the player is banned, value is true, then kick them, and you just keep doing that. So for example, what we could do is we could say like, if int.value is equal to 10, then player kick. So let's just imagine that like if the value is 10, then like, you know, the player needs to get banned. In this case, it works, right? There we go. Server kick message banned. Lovely, okay? But then let's say if this value was like 9 or something and the player shouldn't be banned, then we're not going to be kicked, right? Awesome. So it works. There are workarounds. This isn't a difficult thing, like I said. If you're going to end up like making ban systems in your game, you're probably expecting the game to be big enough to where you're going to save data anyway, right? So I don't think this actually like affects a lot of people. Like you know, I'm making it out to be an annoying feature, but it's not that bad, in case someone wants to like come up and say it. Where my biggest gripe of this comes from, because now you might be asking like, okay, but if it's easy and you say it's easy yourself, right, then like what's the problem? Let me show you. Let me go to file real quick, okay? And some software have this thing called the beta feature. And in case you don't know what that is, somehow a beta feature is a feature that like is deemed too unstable or too new or too experimental or just too difficult that it just cannot be brought into the main version. And you know what? Some of these make sense, like the assistant preview, which is an experimental AI powered assistant. Well, in this release note, right? And by the way, this wasn't released a long time ago. I believe this was like April 30th, 2024, releases beta version of banning APIs, ban async and unban async. 3 months ago, they released a beta version, not the full version, a beta version of banning 3 months ago. Like, how long has Roblox even been out for? How long have people been making games for? I started my channel 8 months ago, or like 9 months ago. For 5 months of running this channel, this wasn't a thing, not even in beta. And right now it's live. So I assume just recently they actually published it to the actual public version, and they did. If I go to game.players, we do get a feature called ban async and unban async. Why was this done this late into production? Obviously, I'm glad that they finally made this into an actual feature. Like, I'm glad, you know? And this ban async actually does give you a lot of options, right? Which is absolutely great. So it lets you pick the user. It gives you the actual duration that you want to ban them for. It gives you a reason for, moderators to check up on, and more, which I can only assume are probably stuff that don't really matter because they don't mention them. So with these finally out, I do hope that players can stop doing all of this dumb code and having to go through just a bunch of dumb things, making a data store, doing all of this, doing all of that, doing checks. Again, none of this was difficult. I'm sure a lot of games just have like some script in the background that just handles bans. Roblox should really make this experience incredibly easy for people. Like the fact that they're trying to like, oh yeah guys, we have an assistant AI, guys, this is really nice, and they only made banning a thing like 3 months ago. You know what I mean? So yeah, just make Roblox great again. And so I just found this nice little example in the Roblox documentations, and so I'm honestly just wondering, like, can I ban myself? Ban async, and then I'll just give it this config thing. So all of the stuff that it actually can do is it gives you a display reason, a private reason for mods, whether you can exclude alt accounts, which is actually interesting, like the fact that they let you do this, and again, making the universe versus place distinction. Ban will succeed on production game server, skipping requests and test environment. Lovely. I'm glad that this wasn't banned. No, you know what's upsetting? The fact that this is here, but banning, you know, being the revolutionary feature that it is, took us a whole decade to make. I don't even know. Like, I'm happy with this, don't get me wrong, but, you know, banning would be nice. So yeah, if you want to use Roblox Studio, don't. But if you really want to, go buy my course, of course. And as always, we're back to basics. Thank you for watching.